It's a very rare occurrence for us to cover a TV series or streaming series here on Feelin' Film, but I just finished this show, and I have to talk about it. All right, well, welcome everyone to Feelin' Film. I'm your host, Aaron White, and this is a little bit of a new one for me today. That's right, I don't have a movie review, and in fact, even the TV series that I'm going to be discussing has been completely aired now for a little over a month, but I just finally got around to finishing it up, and I absolutely loved it. It was one of my favorite series that I've watched in a long time, and I just have to talk about it a little bit, give it some promotion, hopefully some encouragement for those of you out there that might be on the fence to give it a look. We'll try to do this like we do our movie reviews, which is simple, short, and spoiler-free. So here we go. The show in question is called Special Ops Lioness, and it aired on the Paramount Plus network from, I think, around July 23rd through the last episode released on September the 3rd of 2023. This series is an action drama spy thriller created by Taylor Sheridan. It stars Zoe Saldana, Lesla de Oliveira, Dave Annabelle, Jill Wagner, LaMonica Garrett, James Jordan, Austin Hebert, Jonah Wharton, Stephanie Noor, Hannah Love Lanier, Nicole Kidman, and someone else that I'll bring up a little bit later. Music is composed by Andrew Lockington. It is 8 episodes long. What's it about? Force Recon Marine Cruz Manuelos is tasked with befriending the daughter of a terrorist financier who is on the CIA's kill list. All right, so that premise is enough of a hook for me, along with the fact that this is a series created by Taylor Sheridan. If you're like me and a big fan of his, then I think you're going to really enjoy this work. I think it's the first time he's been back in the military special ops playground since Sicario, and boy, this feels like his wheelhouse to me, like something that he really has a strength in and something that he has something to say, and not just in a soap operatic manner like Yellowstone and some of its spinoffs have become. Now, I love all of the shows that Sheridan has created to some varying extent at least, but I would slot this one in at number 2 behind the main Yellowstone series. I think this is a phenomenal show overall, but it does start somewhat slow. The first episode actually goes off with a bang and gets you extremely invested. We get introduced to Zoe Saldana's character Joe, who is a CIA officer in charge of this program called Lioness. The way that Lioness works is they take an undercover female agent and they embed them into the tight-knit group around a major suspected terrorist as a means of getting close to them so that they can then pull off some sort of assassination. Right off the bat, we learn about how brutal of an officer Joe can be, the decisions that she has to make. She is all business, and she takes her work very, very seriously, and that is the kind of character that she is throughout this entire series. But one thing that is a real strength is the character development that occurs in her over the course of the series. Now, I will admit the next handful of episodes, 2, 3, 4, can feel somewhat aimless at times. There are some subplots running through here about Joe and her husband having some relationship difficulties, Joe and her teenage daughter who are kind of at odds because of her being gone all the time for her work. There's a car wreck involved that sort of puts something on the side to pull Joe's attention away from the mission at hand. There's another submission that goes badly and has to be dealt with. And all the while, there is the main plot of Cruz, who is trying to get to know this person named Aaliyah, who is the daughter of this suspected terrorist. And the terrorist that we're talking about here is not only responsible for the movement production of like billions of dollars of oil, but also is the ace of spades, as they say. So he's number one on the CIA's hit list. This is a big fish that they are going after. Cruz has her own backstory and things to deal with. She's coming from a place of domestic abuse. That's kind of how she stumbles into becoming a Marine in the first place. She's a very interesting character. She does not emote much, and her being undercover for the first time is a real challenge and something that they have to navigate together as a team. Speaking of teams, Joe has a CIA team of operatives. They're a lot of fun. They've all got their own little personality quirks, and they all get a moment or two to shine individually throughout the series as well. Now, once we hit about episode 5, this show just takes off. There is a surprise cameo or guest appearance by Morgan Freeman as a very upset Secretary of State. He cusses a lot. He flips off the CIA deputy director at one point, played by the awesome Michael Kelly. So the cast list here just kind of expands and expands. Zoe Saldana's great. Nicole Kidman's great. But it just gets better and better. In fact, Martin Donovan is making an appearance here and there as Nicole Kidman's husband. He has his own agenda that is in conflict at times with her agenda, Nicole Kidman being the CIA handler for Joe. There are a lot of interwoven threads that are being dealt with here. But once we start progressing this last, I'd say 3 or 4 episodes towards the culmination of the mission, it was impossible to stop watching. It was one of those situations where I just had to put everything else aside and get to the end to find out how this was going to resolve. You really find yourself caring about these characters, and brilliantly, as Sheridan does when he's at his best, it becomes a little ambiguous about who you're rooting for and why. And whenever things do eventually happen at the end of the series, there's a major ideological question of which approach should have been taken. In fact, there's a wonderful scene set in the White House Situation Room where people that are in all these different positions of power can't quite decide on whether or not they want to take their chance to kill this terrorist because of what it might do to the oil market and how the allies for America might respond to having a disruption in their oil pipeline or to having to pay more for their oil. So those kind of things are really interesting to explore, and Sheridan does a good job of weaving those threads throughout. There's also bits in here about the issues that are taking place back home and the way that America can be very one-sided in trying to go get the big bad problem that is offshore while letting things completely erode and fall apart here on our own home turf. I thought that this was outstanding. The final episode is an absolute banger, which is what you want it to be. There's an explosive, challenging, bittersweet, and just stinging ending to this that leaves you really thinking about what took place and reflecting on the fact that this is largely how we assume or know our special operations to take place even to this day. So I think this is just such an easy recommendation for anyone that likes military action or spy type of stories. I'll also throw in, there's not a ton of action moments within the story, but there are some gunfights, and every single one of them, as Sheridan is so good at doing, feels strongly choreographed from a tactical perspective. These operators come across as being the tippy-top professionals at the edge of the spear, and I appreciate that. They're quick, they're nasty, and they use tech when they need to use tech, but it's not overly done in a way that leans into science fiction or exaggeration. So every time we got to see them suit up and go out with the guns, it was a real treat, and I think that that is spaced well throughout the series, so that you're not being constantly thrown that. It's just a really great balance of the action stuff and the dramatic side. So, Paramount Plus, streaming now, Special Ops Lioness. I can't recommend it enough. And that's it for this surprise TV review episode of Feelin' Film. Hopefully you enjoyed this. Maybe I turned you on to something that you too will end up falling in love with. If you do, by all means, let me know. I mean, I hope that I'm helping you to discover things. That's my goal here. And it makes my day when I hear about your thoughts on something that I have shared mine on. I'd love to chat. And if you have a differing opinion or view after you've seen this show, we can talk about that too, and why maybe we ended up having a different perspective. Also, if you're enjoying the show, be sure to like and subscribe, whether you're on a podcast catcher or whether you're watching on YouTube. No matter what, we want to make sure you get all of our episodes right when they become available so that you can enjoy them in whatever the best format for you is. That's it for this one. I'll be back soon. Until then, keep watching and keep feeling film or TV.